One thing I think is very amazing about the internet is that you don't know how far your impact or influence goes. Sometimes it may seem like you're only talking to 10 people or 5 people or 1,000 people. And nowadays with internet numbers, people get bloated heads. All they see are numbers on a screen, and they forget that these are actual people on the other side that they're talking to and impacting. And so you may think that you're only getting 50 views every video, or you're only impacting 5 people on your podcast. And it's probably because you're comparing yourself to all these people with all these huge numbers of views. At the same time though, those are actual people. Before the internet, you had to meet people in real life. And 50 people in a room, that's a lot of people. And guess what? This was actually something that I told myself numerous times when I first got started with YouTube. I told myself stuff like, man, it'd be so awesome if I could get like a consistent 50 people to watch each of my videos. And I told myself that to remind myself and prep myself because I knew how social media and comparison worked. And this was back a few years ago, maybe 2012. And I knew it was going to happen. So I prepped myself and I told myself, it would just be so awesome if I get 50 people watching my videos, because that's a lot of people in a room. Like imagine those people sitting there and watching you in a lecture hall, and that's a lot of people. And I told myself that to not psych myself out and not constantly be comparing myself to people who get millions of views and then get down on myself, when in reality I know that it's something that's really good. Like that's a lot of people, that's an accomplishment. And yet here I am, and I would say I get 20 or 30 views, and I know that most of them click off before even a quarter of the video ends. That's just the nature of short attention span YouTubers. And yet at the same time, I see myself in a mindset that I don't like. And I'm thankful that I've had other influencers that have reminded me about this in their own videos, their own podcasts. And I think it's so true. You see the numbers and you compare yourself. And I think, unfortunately, social comparison is one of the things that the modern society really puts on everyone for so many different reasons. The biggest is, generally speaking, it's because big companies make a lot of money, and it's just natural based on how certain structures of things work. And I think it's horrible. Like I think generally speaking, social comparison, it's a horrible thing, and it leads you to a lot of horrible habits, bad habits. And there's a lot of books I've read, namely The How of Happiness, one of my favorite books on happiness. And one of the things mentioned in The How of Happiness is how social comparison is probably one of the worst things that you can do, because it leads to so many bad habits that prevent you from being happy, because it drives habits and behaviors that lead to unhappiness, and it prevents you from having happiness triggering behaviors and mindsets and routines. So for instance, if you compare yourself a lot, you end up dwelling on the negative a lot. And if you dwell on things a lot, you get down on yourself. And so the point of this video is that be proud. If you're a creator, be proud of the people you're impacting and influencing, especially if it's for the positive. Even if it's 20 views or 10 views, and be proud of what you're creating. And it's so easy to be caught up in this. And even if you're not a creator, there's so many different areas where the same thing can happen. If you're a girl, just a girl, any type of girl, and you're watching this video, most likely you're in the modern society, so you're bombarded left and right from Instagram to Facebook to YouTube of models, ads of these beautiful looking girls. and you're comparing yourself to them, and then you feel horrible and all this horrendous stuff. And so don't do that. Don't do that at all. And the last thing, and probably the most important thing that you can get out of this, is that you don't know how big your impact is. So I've heard a lot of stories about how, people only get a few thousand views every video, or they have a decent sized following, maybe whatever, daily readership of 10,000 people or 20,000 on their blog. And all of a sudden one day they found out one of their readers is someone very famous. Like, for instance, the Surgeon General of the United States of America, who's, in terms of the government, the number one doctor in the country. And you find out that this is an actual example. You find out that one of the readers is this man. Or you find out that one of your viewers knows someone who's very impactful, and then you get invited to speak or coach, or you get a job offer, or you get a great opportunity, or they know someone in a band. I recently heard another story about this, where this man had this following, and one of his followers was very well connected in music and knew the Rolling Stones and hooked this man up to a backstage concert. So again, it's not about getting these cool benefits or hookups or connections. It's more so about realizing that your impact can spread much more than you think. That person you're impacting may impact someone else, who either impacts 10 more people, who spread that impact to 5 more people, or that person who's viewing your videos, listening to your podcast, or just hearing your message in that crowd. Maybe it's in this small 5-person community in your classroom. It doesn't have to be something on the internet. That could possibly spread, and it could impact a girl or a boy who's a sibling of that person and prevent them from doing something horrible. And there's so many niches out there that I know of. Niches that I think that I would assume most people don't know about, and it isn't widespread. And for instance, I mean, there's quite a few. There's certain niche, and by niche I mean certain followings where people have a particular topic of interest or hobby, and only people with that topic or hobby follow that area on the internet. There's a few of these where I just think, it's a small thing, it's not very big, and randomly, well, it's not random, but I'll go to the library and I will just check, because I always check, and I think it's always very useful to check before you buy something, but I always check to see, hey, maybe I wonder if they have that book. And then sometimes there won't be that book, and I was like, of course not, it's such a niche topic. Who would know about this and then request a book and then get the library to actually purchase it? But then I would check their extended database and I'll find it, which will just surprise me. And extended database usually means that they contact other libraries in the area, and they get them to ship the book over or something. And sometimes, to my surprise, I'll find this book before consulting my extended library or extended database, and it'll actually be in the library, which blows my mind sometimes, because I'm just like, how is this possible? Like, this book is such a niche topic, or this book is just so brand new and I don't think it has that big a following. And this has happened a few times, and it, to this day, still surprises me. I have a page on my website, which I'll link below, and it's basically a resource page to help you with dating. It gives you basically a quick bio about me, just to show you all the things I've gone through. and then it basically gives you my top recommendations for dating products out there. And long story short, I've gone through a tremendous amount, mainly free stuff on YouTube, but a few paid products as well. But as far as free stuff goes, like any dating coach or pickup artist, you name that person, I've heard of them. And that's saying something. And I literally list out like at least 10 of them on this dating page that you can find on my website. I'll leave a link in the description and somewhere on this video, probably over here, and or over here. And basically, there's this new book that's about to come out, and I personally have really been looking forward to this book because out of all the stuff I've gone through, from simple pickup, whatever else, all these different things where you come out of it and you're like, okay, that kind of helped. Not really though. Or it helped, but it was kind of like, well, I don't know. To hearing about this book and then listening to most of the podcasts that were built to explain this book, I am just very excited about this thing. And it's not something I created. It's a book by a man who literally chose to do something that should have been done a long time ago. And basically he chose to bring a lot of science to what actually attracts a girl and what doesn't. And he goes so in depth. He's very, very thorough with it. And he brings all these studies together about it. And I mean, it's my number one recommendation. And I would think it's a very niche topic and very niche. And the reason being, I estimate only 10,000, 20,000 people watch his podcast. And yet I checked the library, and lo and behold, there's like 2 requests already for this book, which is still in pre-order. And by that, I mean, the library's already pre-ordered the book, and there's people already putting it on hold. And I'm just like, this is ridiculous. And so it's just like crazy how it can spread, and you never know, how it impacts people. And it's not the first time this has happened. This has happened multiple times at the library, and it just, each time it blows my mind. And I'm just like, and this is probably like the biggest one that blew my mind. It's just like, wow, because you don't know how far your impact can spread. And apparently this podcast and all this stuff, it spread incredibly well. So that's basically it. And yeah, it's a great thing. If you want to hear more about this book, I recommend it because I think, to sum it up in a sentence, most dating coaches or pickup artists, at the end of the day, they're throwing crap at a wall and seeing what sticks. And then they form these theories based on it. This book is so much science behind it, and it maps it out so well to a point where it's just like, it goes beyond belief. Like, it's hard to even explain. And it just goes so into depth on all the things. And it's so much more than just looks and money. You find out that there's 30 plus things that you can improve on to increase your attractiveness. That's all I gotta say. As always, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.